Okay, so we've scoured our fabric, we've mordanted it, now we're on to the dyeing. So I'm just going to show you here the supplies I have for dyeing right now, which includes some Shibori's supplies for designing my dye job. So I have rubber bands, I have some clips here. You always need a bunch of rags. You need your kitchen scale, something to weigh the dye in and scoop with. You're gonna need gloves if you like, a stirring stick, thermometer. The whisk really helps to stir the dye particles because if there's any clumps, it's gonna create an uneven dye job. And then I have this dowel here that you'll see how I'll kind of use it to wrap the fabric around. I have my dye. We're gonna be using mulberry leaf from Shepherd's Textiles. Pot to dissolve the dye in, and then the pot that I will be dyeing in. And then of course you need your fabric. So today, and with this video, I'm going to be showing you how to dye specifically using extracts. And then I will have another video where I'll show you using the raw plant material. Okay, so I'm going to start to do the shibori design, which is a form of resist dyeing. I create different folds and different patterns within the fabric by folding, twisting, tying off the fabric to create a form of tightness and resistance so the dye won't be taken up in that part of the fabric as much as the rest, which will then create the pattern. I have my little notebook here where I have the design that I did according to a poem from Rumi's Book of Love, which is the basis of this line. And then the most important thing I have here is the grams of the weight of each of the fabric when it was dry. And then I did my calculation. So for mulberry, I'm going to be using you use about 5 to 10%. So I'm going to use around 7%. And so I found my grams by timesing the weight, which is 805 grams, by 0.07, so I got about 55 grams, which is what I'll do. It's very long. We're gonna make a long tunic. And then how we're gonna do this, for this specific one, I'm using rubber bands. And I'm creating kind of a ring effect. And so what I'll do here, okay, so we're gonna grab the rubber bands. And I'm going to just grab it and tie it. And this is going to create the resist pattern. So I'm going to put some rubber bands all the way up here. And then we surrender to the process and see how the dye wants to mingle with the fabric and the fibers. Oh, well, that one broke. That's fine. I do reuse these, and as long as they want to last. So this is going to create ringlets of sorts, which is the look I'm going for. You can see I already did it on the back. I tried to video it, but I didn't listen. Okay, so this one, let me just make some room, excuse me. This will go in there. This one's gonna be what I like to call a Turkish style hijab. So I'm gonna lay this out. And this one, I'm just merely using these pins. I'm kind of going for a little bit of a weird look. Kind of, I'm just going for a little resist all the way down and in like a different line shape. So this is how I'm gonna personally decide to do it. There's really no rules here. So however you wanna try to experiment with creating different shapes and folds and patterns, you can. And that's what I love about dyeing fabric. It's just, it will never turn out the exact same. the color, the dye job, because there's so many factors that choose how this is going to turn out. The water, the dye, the pH, everything. It really can change and alter. So every piece is truly a one of one, and we love that. And we love the surprise of just, yeah, having no idea what the heck is going to happen here. So there you have it. I'll probably put a few more on here, but this is ready, and this is how I'm going to put it in the dye pot. Woo! Okay. So first things first, to get the dye pot ready, take my pot over here, and I'm gonna put some warm or like decently hot water in here. So yeah, with the mordanting, you bring the temperature and the heat up quick and fast. With dyeing, we're going to bring it up low and slow, baby. So as that's filling, I come over here, grab my kitchen scale, zero that out. I'm just gonna peek, and I'm wanting 38 grams of the dye. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get 38 grams here. And hope that I have enough for the other one. You know what, we're gonna go with 35. I'm happy with that, because we're gonna need all this for the other one. So I've got my 35 grams. I'm gonna take my little bucket. I'm gonna fill this with hot water to make sure that it really dissolves. So I'm just gonna fill this up with water. Get a decent amount in there. And then I'll let this keep filling. I'm gonna grab my dye. And I'm gonna put gloves on so I don't ruin my rings. Dink, dink. So then, just gonna put this in here and do it a little at a time. And just make sure it gets mixed up in there really, really well. You really, really don't want clumps. Earth it! You don't want any clumps because that will dye unevenly, which is also fine. I honestly think the little spots that can come from natural dyeing is like little birthmarks, and I think that's fine. And like I said, we surrendered how it turns out, but look at that, it's gorgeous. Okay, y'all, it's pretty full. I don't want it super full because you do want to balance the water out with the dye, because the more water and the more it dilutes it and the less the fabric will take it up. So you do want to find a good ratio of having the pot full enough so that it the fabric can move around, but also not too full so that it is a condensed dye job. So here we have our pretty green. And I'm going to dump it in here. Let's see if you can see. Look at that. Now we'll mix it up, get it in there good before we put the fabric in. Okay, so I'm gonna grab my little trusty stir stick. And I am going to just make sure it's all nice and mixed in. Look how deep and green that is. Yes. So basically, the more dye you put in, the darker the color will be. And then the less weight of fabric you do, the lighter it will be. So just kind of go however you like. And I also will use this dye bath multiple times. So after I use this, you can see that there'll still be color. I'll show you, and I'll use it to dye my next little thing. So you don't want to dye your counters, especially when you rent. So here, you gotta, use your towels proper. And then we're gonna grab our fabric. I've got this with the design, and Now I'm gonna put that in here and get that down in there. It's so high up, so it's hard to kind of show you. You can see like the fabric already kind of starts to take up the color instantly. I'll get that in there, give it a good little stir, and then I'll grab my next piece, which I'm gonna do this little one in there, and then put that in there, just like that. Yep. Make sure they both can move around decently. So I'm happy with that. I'm not gonna add any more water because you can see that they're both able to be moved. They're not too clumped. So yeah. And then I'm gonna turn this on. I'll probably put it to like a 7 and put my lid on. Check the temp that we're at here. It's at 107, so it needs to go up to almost about 200. So now we wait, yeah. Okay, so I'm coming to stir it. Check the temperature. I always wear the gloves because they can get hot. Just take off the leads. This one, just giving it a good stir. This is the one that has all the ties and pins and stuff. So you want to be gentle so they don't fly off. But just give it a good old mixy. Make sure there's no crumbs or dye particles that get stuck in one spot. So you do want to mix it really well. A great reveal. So I try my best to not leave it in the dye bath overnight. You definitely can. I just found that if I'm not really great at stirring it and then let it sit, that there tends to be a lot of splotches. So I've really practiced dyeing it and washing it the same day once it's cooled down, and you just put a little bit of Synthrapol in because it attaches to the dye particles that are loose and helps to wash it out. My eyeball.
Your cell.
My cell.
Your song.
My heartbeam. Yeah.
That one's really cool.
Yeah, this is the clothesline clips.